Alrighty, so today we are going to talk about a few tools, the Lasso tool, the Blob Brush and Magic Wand tool, and then just continuing to reinforce what we talked about yesterday with masks. Alrighty, so Lasso tool, just the regular Lasso tool is kind of crazy. I mean, you just have free reign with it. Okay, so everywhere like I'm touching or whatever, it's drawing. Okay, and what this is you're drawing to make a selection. So whenever you close the path, it becomes a selection with the marching ants. Okay, so if I don't close my selection, it'll close it for me, and it kind of just like forms its own lines. Okay. I don't really use the lasso tool that much because it's really imprecise, and it just literally wherever you're touching your cursor is where it's going. I'll show. Great question. What would you use it for? Basically, all these lasso tools you would use to get a selection, and I'll show you. Let's say, for example, you are wanting to. I'm in group. I need to be in layer. Let's say I wanted to cut out this fish by itself. If I tried to do it with the lasso tool, like again, it's really imprecise. A lot of room for human error because I'm a human, in case y'all didn't know that. So basically, if I wanted to create a mask for this fish, I can cut that shape with my lasso tool, but it's just not very precise. If I use the polygon lasso tool, basically when you're clicking, every time you click, it makes like a little anchor point, and you can only get straight lines with the polygon lasso tool. And look at my cursor right now. There's a little circle because I'm back to where I started. And so basically it's saying, are you sure you want to close the path and create a selection? And if I click, I say, yes, please make that a selection for me. And I get my little marching ants. Okay. If you ever make a selection and you're like, oh no, that was wrong, or get out of here, little marching ants. If you try to delete it, then it's like thinking you're working with this layer. So you can't just delete a selection, you have to deselect it. So you go up to select, deselect, or Command D, and your little marching ants will go away. Okay, y'all with me? Any questions so far? Okay, the magnetic lasso tool is probably the best of the lassos in my opinion, because basically it snaps to things that are different. Okay, and what I mean by that is if I start my path, y'all can see that it's snapping to the edge of this fish. Can y'all see that very well? Hold on, let me get a different picture. I want my other one. I liked... Oh, shucks. This one doesn't have my pictures. Never mind. Sorry. Okay. I'll do it on the colored pencils. Okay, so maybe I'm wanting to isolate just this blue colored pencil, okay? If I click once, it starts my magnetic lasso tool. And then I'm not clicking, but the line is automatically snapping. And see these values up here? Oh, hold on. It's snapping, and these values are all kind of similar in here together, and so it got off a little bit. Okay. You can also click, like let's say I want to make sure that I get a point right here. I can click and it'll manually create a point for me. So again, not super precise. Okay. So I'm hitting Command D to deselect. If I wanted more precision, I would probably use the quick selection tool or the magic wand tool. Alright, and the quick selection, it's kind of, think of it like a blob brush, but when you're selecting things. So if there we go. If I click once on this blue colored pencil, you see it automatically selected all of the values nearby or colors that were similar to one another. Okay, I can add to that selection by just clicking on an area outside. Let's say I boo-booed and I don't want that orange one in there. If I hold down Option while I click, then it's going to get rid of whatever I'm clicking. Are y'all with me? I feel like some of y'all are doing other things and you're going to have to watch this video, or you're not going to know skills in Photoshop and then you're not going to do well. So blob brush, you literally just, not blob brush, it acts like a blob brush. Quick select tool, you're just like adding to a selection, and then let's say you wanted to mask that. You can click your mask, and man, that is so beautiful, isn't it? Not. Alright, Command D to deselect. My favorite of the little selection tools is the magic wand, okay? Think of it as, you know, like a fairy godmother, and bippity boppity boop, now you're selected. Okay, so if I boop this blue colored pencil and just click it once, it's going to select everything in that area that's like of a similar value or color. I don't know if it does value or hue, one of the two. And so then I can add to my selection by holding down Shift. Okay, and I'm just clicking all of these little areas that I want to be a part of my selection. Okay, and then I can mask it. But let's say, like, this doesn't look very pretty. Okay, if I was wanting to isolate this blue colored pencil, I would want my mask to be a little smoother, and I would want it to be more around, you know, like the edge of the actual colored pencil. So in order to edit a mask after we have created the clipping mask, we can use our paintbrush tool. So this is our brush. Okay, B for brush. And did we talk yesterday about the little white frames and how you know if you're on a layer or a layer mask? Yes, okay, so I've got to make sure that I'm on my layer mask before I do this. Okay, and remember, white reveals, black conceals. So if I'm trying to show parts of this brush, what do you think I need to paint with? What? White. Yes, thank you, Chaz. I need to paint with white, okay? White reveals, black conceals. So I can just literally paint with the brush on my layer mask to start adding in like parts of the pencil that I want to be in my composition. Okay. Up here in your brush presets, you can adjust the hardness. Basically, the hardness is the difference between it being like a hard, solid, clear line like this, and a more feathery line like this, okay? So if you take the hardness down to 0, your lines are going to be really soft and feathery, okay? I feel like there was other stuff that I showed first hour, but I could not remember. I didn't write it down. That was my fault. We talked about the adjustments panel yesterday, right? Okay. I think that was it because they didn't do the adjustment panel, so we had to get caught up. Okay, so y'all take some time to play around with these two selection tools, okay, the lasso and the wand or the quick selection tool, okay? Play with masks, use a brush tool, B for brush, remember, to edit your mask after you've already created it. Oh, one thing, I know what I didn't talk about. Whenever you're using a brush, and this applies to Illustrator as well, it's really helpful. You can use the opening bracket and the closing bracket on your keyboard to resize your brush. Okay, so the opening bracket makes it smaller, the closing bracket makes it larger. And that's just an easy way to modify your brush without having to like go up here and adjust the size and oh okay, that's good. Actually I need it bigger. Oh okay. You can just hit your bracket keys. Oops. And if you need to change the color of your paintbrush, for instance, if I've got my paintbrush on gray instead of black, it's not going to hide everything completely because it's on gray. It's got to be on black. Okay. So if I click this little icon by my color picker, it'll default my foreground and background color back to white and black. And then I can click the arrows to toggle in between. So if I need to use a little black to hide part of this, I can do that. And then if I boo-boo, whoops, like I went too far, I can just switch it to white and then paint it back in. Make sense? Okay, y'all look really bored right now. I'm sorry. Alright, y'all play with masking and the two different selection tools. Alright, I'll come around, see if y'all need any help with anything. Oh, side note, last thing, I'm sorry, and then I promise I'll stop talking. If you want your principles of art document to match like in style, like colors or font choices to your elements of art booklet, you can, that's totally fine. When we're like stapling or binding them together, if you want to put your principles of art pages at the end, because remember we're going to print these out and actually have physical copies of them, you can do that. So basically, if you want it to look similar to your elements of art booklet, go for it. That's totally fine. Okay. Any last questions about the tools we just talked about?